Um, Actually, my style of leadership is probably more coaching than directing. I don't necessarily believe that people need to be directed in that fashion. I think if you coach by example and then you support that person, delegating, yes, we all have someone who's going to delegate responsibilities to us, but my focus would be more of a coach or a mentor. I think so, for the most part. I think people are looking for some direction. I think they're looking for someone who's had the experience. I think people react well to my style because I try to apply my practical experience, and not so much in a teaching manner, to set an example and to show people that no matter where you come from, if you have a path and you have a direction and you have a plan, you can always focus on that plan to get where you want to go. The activities that I enjoy that are me time there's a wide range of activities, anywhere from hiking, kayaking, canoeing. I also enjoy drawing, photography, playing the guitar. I love to garden, and I try to get as much me time as I can to balance off I'm pretty assertive, I'm pretty aggressive when it comes to business. So to balance that and to give myself that downtime, I absolutely take time for me and do the things that I enjoy doing. One of the other things that I love doing is cooking, and I'm still learning. I'm learning from my wife, she's an excellent cook, and I'm okay. The first thing I do is have a glass of wine to relax me. And I do follow recipes, but I kind of make it up as I go along, because it's, again, like relating it to business, you learn as you progress. And if you keep an open mind and you're willing to accept that you don't know everything, and I certainly don't, you become a better teacher, you become a better person, you become a better cook. And it's lots of fun, and once in a while it comes out good. Yes, boundaries. We all clearly have boundaries. The important thing for me, anyway, is to learn my own limitations and my own boundaries. I do set boundaries in my life. First and foremost in my life is my wife and my children and my grandchildren and our friends and our life together. And work, obviously, is Laura's work, my work is important to us. But if you don't set boundaries, what will happen to you, in my opinion, is that your work life will encroach on your personal time. Your personal time, in my opinion, should be first and foremost. And then work should come later. And of course you have to focus to be successful. But finding and learning those boundaries within yourself and learning your own limitations is the key, at least it was for me. And it's interesting thinking about discipline with respect to balance and the balance between your work and your life. And there's no question there have been times where work, as an example, when I was running a business and I had 150 plus people working for me, my focus, of course, was being successful. But I recognize, and successful in business, of course, but I recognize that I still had a wife, had a family, had enormous responsibilities to them. And you almost can, if you're lucky, you'll catch yourself leaning a little bit too much to one side or the other. The key is to be able to catch yourself and be willing to admit that, maybe this is not a good thing. Maybe I should change direction and balance my life. So you have to create boundaries and limitations. The most important thing to do is for friends and families is to say stop. Today you need to focus on work, and on the flip side of that, you also need to be able to tell the people that you work with that stop, I need a little time for me, my family, and children and grandchildren. Stress. Do we experience stress? Yes, there's a misconception, I think, at least it was for me, that as you get older and we all tend to slow down, that stress goes away, and nothing could be further from the truth. You do, however, learn to deal differently with stress. You don't necessarily overreact like I did when I was younger. You tend to slow down a bit. Think of the consequences of your actions before you take those actions. And do I still encounter stress? I do. Hopefully I handle it a little bit better. But clearly, if you think as you're getting older and you become more successful, that stress goes away. It does not. What are some of the stresses? The same as they were years ago. Business, finances, getting there on time, doing a good job, being proud of what you do, and family and personal life stresses. They do not go away. You just handle them differently. Typically, the work-life balance and the mental and emotional health, how it impacts us collectively as a society. I'm a firm believer that all of us deal with stress in work and life and balance differently. For myself, excuse me, and I can only speak for myself, I have somehow been able to separate the two. It took a long time to get comfortable with that because when I was younger, I felt guilty because I wasn't working hard enough. I also felt guilty because maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to my family that I should have. So as you get older, you realize and you recognize that there is a middle ground somewhere that you feel comfortable with. And does it help you mentally and emotionally? It clearly does because you're more relaxed. And you're more relaxed with yourself, and you're willing to admit as you age that, I've made some mistakes, and I'll try to learn from them and try not to repeat them in the past. I also don't preach to people and tell them this is what you should do. What you should do is what works for you. If I had to give anybody advice, I'm not good at giving advice. As I said earlier, I like to teach by example. So my example would be this. Find that level of comfort that you're comfortable with. Don't let anyone else define your level of comfort. If it's work, if you want to work 90% of the time and you're good with that and relax 10% of the time, that's okay if it works for you, as long as it's not hurting anyone around you. If you're the kind of person who would rather have 90% of your time for yourself, that's okay, as long as you're comfortable with that. I found my own peace and I found my own level of comfort and my own balance. My advice to you is to find your own.